club fittings. Who would have thought this topic was going to be so, I don't want to say controversial, because it's not really a controversial topic, but it sparked something in you guys to want to comment crazy and make that last video blow up. So I'm here to do a follow-up to that video, the very first one, 3 club fittings, 3 different results. And I was going through a lot of the comments trying to reply to you guys, and it was just so many, I just couldn't reply to all of them. I'm still trying to get through some of them, but I wanted to make this video mainly because there were some really good comments buried deep into that comment section. And again, for transparency, this channel and this video is more so for like the beginner golfer like myself out there that is struggling to find answers, struggling to know where to go and how to go about getting club fittings. So I wanted to do this video in terms of like a follow-up and just go through some of the comments that I felt like were some good ones to kind of highlight, and just to highlight them just so those of you that are out there looking for answers, you don't have to go deep diving into the comment section. So I pulled out some of the best ones that caught my eye that I just wanted to respond to. So without further ado, we're gonna get into the first one. First one comes from Mark Urban 4792. Appreciate your comment. And Mark says, play what you like. The main thing you got out of the fitting is a heavier shaft feels better. If you don't like what you see, you won't play well. Even professionals go off looks. Have fun. Now, for this comment, I completely agree with. So for me, like I was kind of saying in one of the previous videos, when the numbers are somewhat similar and they're not super far off, then the next best thing is just to go off of looks and feel, right? So when I was hitting the different clubs, like I said, the Titleist and the TaylorMade club, because it was just basically boiled down to those two, because that's the clubs that they kept feeding me, mostly talking about my iron fittings when I was at one of the places. But he was basically going back and forth between the TaylorMade and the Titleist T150, T200 irons, I believe. So for me, even though they both kind of felt similar, the Titleist felt a little heavier because of the heavier shaft at the time. And then the TaylorMade though, when I was looking down at the dress, it just looked better to me. And me being a TaylorMade guy that I was, and when I say, there's a lot of people also getting at me in the comments that saying don't be brand loyal. But when I say TaylorMade guy, that was just the first set of clubs that I've ever picked up. TaylorMade is the only brand that I've ever repped. So I was already familiar with TaylorMade. Not to say that I wasn't open to changing and going with a different brand. I absolutely was. But when it boiled down to it, I like the look of the TaylorMade irons over the Titleist irons, and the numbers weren't too far off. And then as I was swinging the clubs, to me, even though the Titleist had slightly better numbers, the TaylorMade just felt better to me. So I went with the TaylorMade irons. And I think I agree with him when he says that, looking down at the club when you're addressing the ball, it kind of goes into your psyche. Not necessarily worried about the brand, but just the look and the feel of the club head addressing the ball. Sometimes, in my opinion, that's going to play into your psyche. And if I don't like what I'm looking at, then I'm probably going to be thinking about that and I'm not going to hit a good shot. So I think he's right. And the look and feel of the club head has a lot to do with your performance, just because if you don't like what you're looking at, then you're going to be second guessing yourself. And God forbid if I went with the Titleist irons and I got out there and I kept hitting, I hit 2 bad shots in a row. Now I'm looking down at the club, it's like, dang, I probably should have went with the TaylorMade, just because now that I'm hitting the ball bad and I'm not even like what I'm looking at, I'd rather, like what I'm looking at and then hit a bad shot, because you're going to hit bad shots. That's inevitable. But the moment you start hitting bad shots, you start to second guessing yourself. It's like, man, maybe I should have went with this iron instead. And you don't want that when you're out there on the golf course. The game is already a mental beast already. So worrying about your equipment is not necessarily what you want to be doing when you're out there playing around. So thank you for that comment. I completely agree with that. Let's move on to the next one. I'm gonna try to get through these as fast as possible. I think there's like 10 or 11 or so. The next one comes from Timinator. I like it. In my experience, the biggest factor is consistency of path and face. If a player can't do those consistently, it would be hard to fit. Plus, you being a high-speed player, it makes it even harder. Now, the first part I absolutely agree with. Consistency is key, obviously, when you're dealing with golf, and you want to have as a repeatable swing as humanly possible. That's how you're going to get accurate data and things of that nature. But to the second part, I mean, me being a high-speed player, like I'm still so new that I don't really know what all that means. But I do agree it's harder to fit someone that doesn't have a consistent swing, whether you're consistently good or consistently bad. You want a consistent swing so you can get accurate data. But if you're going into a fitting and you're spraying it all over the place, I would highly advise you to, save your money on the fitting, keep gaming the used clubs or the hand-me-down clubs that you have. Maybe go get some coaching and then keep grooving the swing until you can hit the ball consistently. And then you'll be able to go into your fitting with, better expectations and getting better numbers so you can properly get fit for what you're looking to get fit. Next is from Rana number 1. Very interesting video. I do think there is something going into a fitting with a preference. Not that it's wrong or right. I just think that it has an impact. I had a driver fitting and went in thinking that I really wanted the Titleist GT3. Instead, I tried others. I tried TaylorMade, Ping, Callaway, but I found the best fit was a Titleist. I plan on getting fit for new irons in the new year. I'm a Titleist fanboy, so it will be interesting to see if I hit them better over other irons. Thanks for sharing your experience. Listen, if you're a Titleist guy, you're a Titleist guy. I mean, you're going to go into it with a little bit of a biased mindset, but I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. So be open-minded to a point where you're open to other clubs and you hit other clubs. But at the end of the day, if the Titleist look and feel is what you like, then, go with it. Golf is one of these games where we're not out there trying to be professionals. We're out there just trying to have fun, shoot as low scores as possible. But main thing is to have fun and enjoy yourself out there when you're playing. So if you're doing that, then who's to say that, you're going to go wrong with Titleist over anything else? So if you're a Titleist guy, be a Titleist guy. There's nothing wrong with that. Next up is Lord Scott of Redlands. What a name. He says, do not do a fitting indoors, especially with wedges. Spin rates are very different off mats. Also, you need to get fitted in more than a 7-iron. You may need lofts upright on 4 through 7, but flat on 8, 9, and pitching wedge, etc. See, this is one thing that I didn't necessarily think about when I was going into my fitting, but after the fact, I did realize that in my fitting, I wasn't hitting anything other than a 7-iron. I think somebody had told me that the reason why they only fit you into a 7-iron is because usually that's the club that's in the middle of the pack and it's like in the middle of your iron set, and you typically hit the 7-iron more frequently, I think. Is that what they said? Or it's just like a nice even ground. But for me, it's just kind of weird that you don't necessarily go through your whole bag, hitting a mid iron, a long iron, and a short iron at least. And at least they hit 3, like a pitching wedge, a 7-iron, and maybe a 5-iron, 4-iron, whatever. So I thought that was interesting. I do kind of agree with him, even though I'm still pretty new and I don't really understand the whole loft lie angles and all that stuff in terms of what they do. I understand that you're bending clubs, but I don't understand if the 2 degrees upright, what that's for, or how you calculate all that stuff. Still pretty foreign to me. I'm still learning. So if you guys want to explain that to me in the comment section below, I'd greatly appreciate that. But yeah, I thought that was kind of weird that you don't necessarily hit all of your clubs in your bag when you're going through a fitting. Is that common? You guys let me know in the comment section below, but I'm unaware. So I did feel like that was kind of interesting that, you go into a club fitting, and granted it is for only an hour and you're hitting a ton of balls within that hour and a half fitting, and you tire out pretty easily. But does that when you kind of do multiple fittings and just hit multiple clubs over a span so you can kind of get the best data overall? Or you go into one fitting for an hour and whatever club you're hitting, if your club you're hitting best that day, just so be it, then that's what you get fit into. I do kind of know that, like I said in the previous, I am not necessarily I do kind of know that when you're hitting into a simulator and given the day that, you just might not have your best swing. So in that case, are you just kind of like asked out and you get fit into something that you're not really supposed to get fitted into just because the day you go in to get your fitting, you just didn't have your best swing with you? That's something that I never thought about, and that's interesting. So if you're out there and you're trying to, worried about the whole fitting process and going to get fit, keep that in mind, man. If you know that you didn't have your best swing that day, then take all that data with a grain of salt. And I would hold off on buying a set right then and there, because they're going to definitely try to get you to buy a set right after your fitting. Try to be disciplined enough to hold off and be like, okay, let me take a beat and go back and try to do another fitting. So when I know I have the swing feels right, and then go off of that data. So that's another thing that you kind of want to think about when you're going into a fitting is, just make sure you know that you're swinging the club as good as you normally do. So if you have a bad day, even though you're probably going to be wasting your money on that particular fitting, it'd be more wasteful to just go ahead and buy a $1,400 set and you're not really supposed to be getting fit into that particular set, if that makes sense. From Great Time Life, club fitting is a scam. The Let's Play Through guy unwittingly exposed this in a video about the new Ingus driver from Tacoma. He bragged about his $1,000 fitting Callaway driver while complaining about the performance of the Ingus, then showed the performance of both, and there was basically no difference in performance. So yeah, I mean, that just more or less like people getting online, making videos about certain products because these companies are either, sending them products or giving them incentives to talk about their products. And they're going to try to be a little bit biased and try to, favor one product over the other, even though the results are pretty much identical. They're going to swear by a certain product. So that's why you got to be careful when you're searching for videos and stuff online. There's a lot of creators out here that are partnering with these companies that no matter how the data reads, they're going to favor one club over the other, or no matter how, even if the data reads similar or if the data is drastically different, they're going to still try to hype up the driver that they're supposed to, or the club that they're supposed to be hyping up, and they're going to downplay all the other clubs. So just understand that when you're going into, watching some of these YouTube videos, and a lot of these creators are talking about certain clubs, even though they preference at the beginning of the video that this is completely unbiased, there's going to be a little bit of bias there because they don't want to just completely down and trash the companies that are sending them products because they want to keep doing business with these companies. So, that's just one of the things that I was doing research when I was going into my fitting process, and I found that a lot. And I just very skeptical of people talking about certain clubs and certain things just because there's a lot of bias out there. But again, if the bias is something that, in your mind that you're going to be okay with, then, do your thing, go for it. But very interesting that the Great Time Life put that out there because that is very true and it happens. So just be wary of that when you're going into your fitting if you're a newbie like me. All right, let's rapid fire the rest of these. Ted P. Most of the national fitter chains are scams. It's a strong statement. It's his opinion. If you guys agree with that, let me know in the comment section below. Next, Big Wave Dave. Now, this is the guy that reached out and apparently not apparently, I think it was kind of confirmed. He's one of the big time fitters out in the San Diego area. And I guess he's won a couple awards over the last couple years, being fitter of the year. So interesting comment from him. He says, hope this comment finds you. I would love to come on your channel and expose those club fitters. I'm a former Southern California club fitter of the year, and I've worked with major equipment manufacturers. If you'd be interested, I've done videos on YouTube before that I happily will show you my pedigree, but it would be great to explain why you were fit the way you were and what's wrong with the fitting world. That would be a video that I would love to do. So Big Wave Dave, if you're watching this video, please reach out. Let's try to make that happen, set something up, and we can, come together and try to find, some common ground and, just educate the golfers out there on the whole fitting process. After I shoot this video, I might just reach out to you on Instagram or something like that, just trying to see what we can do in terms of making this happen, because I think this would be really, really good content for the channel. So, if you guys out there are watching this video, let me know if you guys want to see that. If you guys want to see Big Wave Dave come on the platform and just share his knowledge about fitting from an actual award-winning fitter, let us know in the comment section so we can try to make that happen. Capped Med Frag. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm probably butchering that, but he says, I had the exact same fitting experience at Golf Tech, except they were trying to get me into the P790s. I wanted the shaft for the P790s into a ping iron, but they didn't have that shaft for the ping. He put that in quotations. They didn't have that shaft for the ping. Same feeling, ping felt light and the TaylorMade was heavier. I got a really good and cheap fitting at PXG and ended up going with them. And listen, so if you're out there, I don't want to bash Golf Tech. I had a pretty good experience, but the same exact thing happened to me from TaylorMade to Titleist. I had the Titleist, I was hitting the Titleist iron in a 130X stiff shaft from KBS, and then the TaylorMade shaft had a 120X stiff shaft from KBS. Titleist felt heavier, which I like the feeling of a heavier club in my hand. the TaylorMade felt lighter, and when I realized that the club were 2 different weights, I asked if they can put a 130 shaft on the TaylorMade head so I can feel the difference. They proceeded to tell me that they didn't have that particular shaft for the TaylorMade head, and he was trying to push me to go to a Titleist iron. So I just kind of used my head, and even though the TaylorMade club felt better, it looked better at a dress, and I liked the design and everything about it, I ended up going with the 130 shaft, X stiff, and the KBS tour shaft, put it on the TaylorMade, and ordered that set, thinking that I would, even without even hitting that particular club in the fitting, I just felt in my mind that that club and that setup was going to be right for me, because again, like I said, I like the heavier feel. So I put the 130 shaft on the TaylorMade head, and I like the TaylorMade look, so that's what I did. 130 KBS tour shaft, X diff on the TaylorMade P790s, and I went out and played 2 rounds with it so far. First round was absolutely disgraceful. It was really, really bad, but it was an alternate shot scramble, so I wasn't really getting all the shots that I could have been getting, and I didn't really get a groove in. But the next round I played a few weeks after, that one wasn't on camera, and I shot like a 84 at Goose Creek, which is one of my favorite courses around this area, and had a much better time with that setup at when I was actually playing a full round. Was hitting the ball really good. So I'm happy to say that I'm super happy with what I decided to go with. I'm super happy with my decision, and I was hitting the ball really good. And I hit the driving range not too long ago too with those clubs, and was striking the ball really well. It seemed to have fixed my left pull significantly. I wasn't pulling the ball as much, and yeah, man, it's working out for me so far. So those of you who are wondering, all of you I was commenting, super happy with what I went with in my set. So thank you guys for hitting me up and telling me, asking me about that set. All right, Mr. Zola, interesting info. Doesn't surprise me. Golf Tech was the most sales self-interested. That is how they seem generally. 790s are great clubs. You can't really go wrong with them. At 6'5", I can't believe you wouldn't be better with at least a +1 in your irons and wedges. I just came back to golf 2 months ago after 25 years, and I almost went with the P790s, but for now I need a little bit more forgiveness next set once my contact is more consistent. Appreciate you, Mr. Zola. But yeah, me being I'm not 6'5", I'm 6'4", 6'5", I guess, kind of teetering in that range. I haven't really measured myself recently, but yeah, I'm around 6'4", 6'5". +1. So my homeboy Kyle, aka the Duffer's Diary, friend of the channel, he is also 6'5", and he has +1 throughout his entire irons. And I was hitting his clubs, and they just felt a little too long. I don't know. For me, +0.5 just felt better, and honestly, that's what the fitters said. They never even mentioned a +1 because I guess they figured a longer club was going to take even more spin off of the ball. I don't know if that's true. You guys let me know in the comment section below. But he said the longer the club, the less spin that you'll get. And being that I already was gaming a 130 shaft, taking a lot of spin off of the ball, he didn't want to take even more spin off the ball by giving me a longer club. Whatever, I don't know. I'm still up in the air about all that information. I just kind of listened to him and said whatever. But as I was out there gaming the clubs, they felt nice. They felt perfect, because I think the previous set that I had was not extended at all, and I didn't feel myself hunching over quite as much, which felt pretty nice, So yeah, I don't know. All right, Wiley 11 279. I get it. You're a TaylorMade Tyler. First time I heard that term, TaylorMade Tyler. Nothing wrong with that, but it sounds like you were wanting to match your bag for aesthetics. Went to 3 fitters to get the answer that you wanted, not what you needed. The Ping G440 driver for an early golfer would be a better option in driver. Well, funny you should say that. I didn't get fit for a driver. I already had the TaylorMade Stealth driver in my first set back when I first started golfing. That was the very first driver I ever bought, and then about 2 years later I was out on the golf course, hit a drive, and I broke it. After 2 years, the carbon face broke off, and I reached out to TaylorMade to see if they had any type of warranty system. I was out of the 1-year warranty, but they still elected to give me like a $400 voucher for a new driver. So being that I have $400 towards a new driver, and I didn't have to spend the full amount for a different brand, I just went with the TaylorMade QI35 because it was the newest driver out at the time, and that's what I went with. So never got fit for a driver. Probably should do that at some point. But yeah, I don't disagree with you that the Ping is the better driver, but you know, I never hit it before, and TaylorMade pretty much is the only driver I've ever hit. And once I, you know, get to a point where I need a new set, when I get fitted for my next set of clubs, which is going to be in several years from now, then I'll be a little more open to brands all across the board and kind of have better knowledge going into it and picking a different club. But that's the reason why I got into the TaylorMade QI35, was just because I broke my driver. TaylorMade sent me $400 to get a new one, so that's what I did. Case in 40, my boy. I'm 2 minutes in and I'm intrigued. I was hesitant to comment about where to go get fitted because I've been around the shops long enough to know that all fitters and advice are not equal. Having someone to 100% trust is going to be hard to come by. Really hoping these fittings will well for you and there is some positive results for you and your new equipment. Appreciate you, my guy. It's my guy Jason. Met him on YouTube back when I first started the channel, and I actually played golf with him a few times. Super cool dude, super positive. Love playing golf with him. But yeah, man, you know, he's just all about the positive vibe. I just wanted to kind of read that comment just because I agree that you're not finding the perfect fitter and trying to going in to get fitted and getting someone that's going to be 100% invested into you and how your game is going to progress and all that good stuff is going to be difficult. Especially for us new golfers out there, when you go into a fitting and you tell them that you're new to the game, I think they just kind of get wide-eyed, and knowing that they can just tell you whatever they want to tell you just to get you into a new club or a new set of clubs, they're going to do that, right? So if you're going into a fitting and you openly tell them that you're a new golfer, I think some of these fitters are just kind of licking their chops and was like, okay, I can tell this guy whatever I need to tell him just to get him to buy a set here and there. But if you're a little bit more seasoned and you know a little bit about, you know, the club and the process and things of that nature, they're less likely to get away with lying to you when you're out getting your fitting. Not to say that all of them are going to lie to you. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I just know that, you know, when you're a little wet behind the ears in terms of where you are in your golf space, they'll be able to, you know, some of these fitters don't care and they're just trying to get a commission. So they're going to get you into whatever set of clubs that you possibly can. Only when you're a little bit more seasoned and you know a little bit more about your game, then you can go in kind of knowing what you want and just wanting to see the numbers for yourself and use a little bit of guidance from them. So basically you're just using them to test out multiple clubs and get the data. And the club fitter is just like an anomaly unless you get like I said, unless you get a really, really good club fitter that can really like dial in, bend clubs right then and there to kind of fit it to where you're going to be hitting the ball like you should be hitting. But if you're just hitting stock clubs all the time, then, you know, it just goes to show you that you're just probably, you know, one of those getting fit into like a standard stock set, which is nothing wrong with, especially if you're a beginner. But like I said, if you're seasoned, then you're not really, you already know better, and you're kind of going into the fitting process knowing what to expect, what to look for, and things of that nature. So if you're new, take that however you take it, and, you know, think about that before you go in. And that is all of the comments that I screenshot. I didn't want to do too many just because I didn't want this video to be too crazy long, and it ended up being a lot longer than I wanted it to, but a lot of good information. And again, a lot of you guys was in the comment section commenting, and there was a bunch of other ones that was in there that was really, really good information, especially the longer comments. So if you guys are a beginner like myself and you're out there trying to find answers, get into that comment section of that previous video that was titled 3 club fittings, 3 different results. There's a ton of information in that video that you guys can go in and just kind of, you know, read through and just get a lot of knowledge. Because, you know, for me, someone that's never gotten any lessons or anything like that, and kind of learning the game kind of as I go and teaching myself as I go and learning from other people that I play with, whether it be, you know, watching people online or people that I play with, things of that nature. I'm still, you know, trying to figure all of this thing out myself. So all you guys out there that are watching that are, you know, seasoned vets in this game, please keep spreading your knowledge in the comment section below. And if you're new, ask some questions in the comment section, because there's people in there that will reply to you, give you the knowledge that you're looking for. And hopefully that that serves you well. So this video has already gotten long enough. We're going to cut it off here. Appreciate you guys watching this video. Like I said, get in the comment section. Let me know what your thoughts are, and we will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.